Recently, I was having a conversation with a senior executive here on LinkedIn, and we were just exchanging messages. And he messaged me. He said, "Look, these are very busy times. There's a lot happening. There are too many competing priorities, and I'm just taking one day at a time, and I'm barely staying afloat, barely able to manage." And these were his exact words. I'm taking one day at a time, and I'm barely able to stay afloat. Now, if you just look at that language, it was very clear that he was under a lot of stress, a lot of work pressure. Uh, and I've had similar conversations with a lot of executives in the last few weeks. And this is a common theme coming across, right? There's a lot of work pressure, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety. A lot of us are overwhelmed with this situation. And understandably so, right? The current situation, the current context is very complex, very unique, it's unprecedented. But if you keep that aside for a moment, there are a lot of times in our lives when we feel that we are under a lot of work pressure. There's more work, there is less time. And so I want to talk about today around time management and what are the four traps of time management you should avoid. Uh, so the first trap of time management you should avoid is the trap of time itself. The trap of time means that whenever you're under a lot of work pressure, there's more work, there is less time. Sometimes you are under the assumption that things will automatically improve over time, that at some point in the future you will have free time to do something else. You are under the assumption that time will create time for you, and we all know how that ends, right? That time never comes really. Life gets busy, life gets more complex, your to-do list never ends. So so it does not happen on its own, right? So that's the first trap to avoid, is the trap of time itself, assuming that over time things will improve if you don't do anything about it. The second trap to avoid is the trap of ignorance. Sometimes when we are struggling with managing time, we assume that this is just work related and this has nothing to do with other aspects of our lives, which is so not true. Because whenever you are under a lot of stress, you're struggling to manage time, it will start impacting other areas of your life as well, sooner or later, right? Your motivation level, your morale level, your energy levels, the way you show up at work and life, your health, your relationships, the way you communicate, the way you make decisions, all this will get impacted when you are under a lot of work pressure. So don't assume that it is just a work related issue. Time management or work pressure can actually easily impact other areas of your life as well. So second trap to avoid is the trap of ignorance. The third trap to avoid is the trap of busyness. A lot of times we just make busyness as a default operating style. We are busy all the time. Sometimes you may actually have some spare time or free time for you, but you end up taking more work. You start looking at your work emails, you start responding to emails, so you start taking a work and then you're busy all the time, and that becomes your default operating style. That's the third trap, the trap of busyness. And the fourth trap to avoid is the trap of flying solo. Now, this means that when there's a lot going in your life, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, uh, you actually try to fly solo. And actually, that is not the time to fly solo. That is the time to seek out for help, seek out for support. Or for some strange reason, we try to fight our battles alone. We don't want to seek out for help. Now, sometimes it is a fear that, what will people think of me if I seek out for help or support? Sometimes it is just our own overconfidence that we feel that we will somehow figure out things on our own. But whatever the reason is, you struggle, but you fail to admit that you are struggling, and you don't seek out for support. So that's the fourth trap, the trap of flying solo. Now the question is, what should you really do about it? Right now, before you get into that, first things first, let's understand that most people believe that time management is about time. But the truth is, time management is less about time. It's more about two things: prioritization and decision making. Prioritization means what will you say yes to and what will you say no to. Now, a lot of you may struggle in knowing what to prioritize, when to prioritize, and how to prioritize. That's the first thing. And sometimes you may know what to prioritize, you just don't want to take the decision. You want somebody else to decide for you. because you don't want to take the responsibility or the accountability of that decision. So you fall into this trap of not prioritizing and not taking decisions, and hence you're not able to manage your time. So now let's look at what are some of the things you can do. Now, obviously, time management is a much bigger topic to discuss, but I'll share some insights from my conversations with my coaching clients and what helps them. So there are four things you can do actually in order to take control of your time. The first is really awareness, which is avoiding the trap of ignorance. Be aware that when you're struggling to manage time, when there's a lot of work pressure, too much happening, too much workload, it is not just about a work itself. It is not limited to workplace. It will start impacting other areas of your life as well, starting from, as I said, low motivation level, low energy levels, right, to start impacting the way you communicate with your team. Sometimes you may become more irritable, more edgy, more pushy. It will start impacting your relationships even outside work, at home, in your social circles. It will start impacting your health, obviously. So, so it will start impacting different dimensions of your life sooner or later. And the first thing is just be aware that yes, this is what is going to happen if I don't do anything about it. And start looking out for signs for these, right? Where are some of the conversation where you feel you're getting more edgy, more irritable, more angry, maybe sometimes? What are some of the mistakes you're making in your decision making? So start looking for these signs and be aware that this is not just a workplace issue. The second thing you can do is, the avoid the trap of time. Don't assume that over time things will improve on their own, right? You have to do something about it. You have to take charge. If you don't do anything about it, things will not improve, right? So don't be under the assumption that time will magically create time for you. It will not happen. So you have to do something about it. So taking charge is a step you need to take, saying enough is enough. I now need to do something about it. The third thing is really obviously prioritizing and decision making, right? So if you're struggling to prioritize or make decisions, ask yourself this question: what can help me prioritize? What can help me decide? Now, when I say what can help me, it could mean several things. It could be you need to talk to somebody. You need to have a conversation with somebody who can help you prioritize, and it could be somebody at workplace. It could be somebody outside the workplace. Um, so first thing is, whom should you talk to? Sometimes it could be that you need more information, right? So where should you get that information? Who will give you the information? And by when you should have that information, which can help you prioritize or decide. And third could be just you need time. You know what to prioritize. You have all the information with you. You're just not getting time. So in that case, you need to make sure that you're creating time to prioritize. Because if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to prioritize, if you're not going to take decisions, then nothing will change on the ground. You will continue to struggle in that situation where you have more work and less time. So prioritizing decision making becomes important step. And the fourth thing you have to do is to avoid the trap of flying solo. As I said earlier, when there's a lot going on in your life, when you are under a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed in all directions, and you feel, like every day you are surviving, you're just staying afloat barely, right? That's not the time to fly solo. That's not the time to try to figure out everything on your own. That's the time to actually reach out to people, seek help, seek support. Now, have a conversation, right? And this could mean somebody at workplace, and if you're not comfortable, it could be somebody outside the workplace. It could be a partner, a friend, a mentor, a coach, whosoever it is. Have a conversation. Now that kind of conversation could actually help you in prioritization and decision making, which I spoke earlier. It could also be just to offload yourself, right? A lot of times there is so much going on in our lives, there is so much in our mind, but we have not spoken about it, and it keeps on piling, and it is playing all the time in the background, and it starts impacting us, right? So having conversation just to offload yourself can sometimes be very helpful, right? It can create a lot of mental space and allow new things, new thoughts to come in. uh, and a lot of us actually find it very difficult to open up to people, right? And that's why we keep a lot to ourselves, and that itself is a big challenge. So finding somebody to have a conversation is very important in helping you manage this situation, right? Now that conversation can also sometimes help you see things from different perspective, which you've not even thought about, right? So having those conversations, reaching out to people, can help you in various ways: prioritizing, decision making, just allowing yourself to offload and talk about what you're feeling or see things from different perspectives. So these are the four things you can do. The four traps to avoid are the trap of ignorance, the trap of time, the trap of busyness, and the trap of flying solo. So I hope this is helpful to you. See what you want to apply in your lives and see what works for you. And if you're still struggling to manage time or manage this work pressure, you and I should have a conversation really. Uh, so do share your feedback, do share your comments. But in the meantime, I wish all of you safe times ahead. Stay safe, stay healthy, and do take care. Thank you.